All right, let's be honest for a second. Have you ever felt just a tiny bit of satisfaction when someone you dislike messes up? Maybe that arrogant coworker finally got called out in a meeting, or a celebrity who seemed untouchable got caught in a scandal. You weren't hoping for it, but when it happened, you couldn't help but smirk. That feeling, that's Schadenfreude, a fancy German word that basically means finding joy in someone else's downfall. And here's the thing, we all feel it, even if we don't like to admit it. It's like this guilty little secret, a part of our emotional landscape that society tells us is bad but feels so good in the moment. But why? Why does watching someone trip, figuratively or literally, give us this strange rush of pleasure? Is it just human nature? Some leftover survival instinct? Or has society conditioned us to compete so much that we actually enjoy when someone else loses? That's what we're unpacking today, the psychology, the social mechanics, and the deeper, shadowy layers of Schadenfreude. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll not only understand why it happens, but you'll see a side of yourself you probably never even questioned before. So buckle up, this is about to get real. All right, let's dig into the why behind this weird little pleasure we get from watching others fail. It's not just some random flaw in human nature. There are deep psychological reasons why we feel Schadenfreude. And trust me, once you see them, you'll start noticing them everywhere. First off, let's talk about the oldest part of our brain, the one that evolved to keep us alive in the wild. Way back in the day, life wasn't about being nice, it was about winning. Every resource, food, shelter, mates, was limited. And the only way to move up in the hierarchy was for someone else to move down. When a rival stumbled, literally or socially, it gave us a shot at taking their spot. That's where Schadenfreude has its roots. It's not that we're evil for feeling it, it's that at some primal level, our brain still sees life as a competition for survival. Even today, we still think in terms of winners and losers. Ever felt a little satisfied when a competitor at work got passed over for a promotion? Or when a cocky friend failed at something they bragged about? That's your evolutionary brain whispering, one less rival to worry about. And it doesn't just stop at individuals, it works at a group level too. We naturally divide the world into us versus them, our tribe versus the outsiders. When the other group messes up, we feel safer, stronger, better. Think about sports fans celebrating their rival team's defeat, or political supporters grinning when the opposing party screws up. It's all the same ancient instinct. Their loss makes us feel secure. Now, let's move to something a bit more personal, our ego. Whether we like to admit it or not, we're constantly measuring ourselves against others. It's how we gauge our own success, our attractiveness, our intelligence, you name it. Psychologist Leon Festinger called this the social comparison theory. We don't evaluate ourselves in a vacuum. We do it by stacking ourselves against other people. And when someone stumbles, it messes with that ranking system in our favor. Let's be real. When we see someone doing way better than us, there's often this little voice inside that says, "Ugh, why them?" And if they suddenly fail, that voice goes, "See? I knew they weren't that great." We especially feel this when successful people fall. Why? Because deep down, many of us carry a sense of inferiority. Seeing a rich, powerful, or famous person fail makes us feel less inadequate in comparison. It's like their downfall somehow balances the scales of fairness. It's why so many people secretly enjoy watching celebrities go broke, politicians get exposed, or influencers get canceled. It's not just entertainment, it's psychological relief. Of course, the irony is that this kind of comparison never leads to true self-worth. It's a cheap way to feel good. Temporary, fleeting, and ultimately hollow. But man, does it feel tempting in the moment. Now let's go even deeper, into the hidden parts of our mind. You know, the stuff we don't even realize is controlling us. Sigmund Freud believed that a lot of our behavior is driven by repressed emotions. Anger, jealousy, resentment. We don't always act on them, but they sit there, bubbling under the surface. And Schadenfreude? It's like a pressure release valve for all that suppressed negativity. Ever been frustrated watching someone succeed effortlessly while you're struggling? Maybe they had rich parents, good looks, lucky breaks. You might not openly hate them, but deep down, part of you resents how easy they have it. Then one day, they fail. They lose money. They get embarrassed. They mess up in a big way, and suddenly, without even thinking, you feel this weird satisfaction. That's not you being cruel, it's just your repressed envy finally escaping. And let's be real, life isn't always fair. Seeing someone who had it easy fall can feel like justice, as if the universe is finally evening the score. But Freud would remind us, this is our shadow self at work. It's not our best self. It's the hidden, unspoken part of us that secretly wants to see others brought down just so we don't feel so small. So, what do we do with this knowledge? Look, feeling Schadenfreude doesn't make you a bad person. It's built into us. But here's the thing. Just because something is natural doesn't mean we should feed it. If you constantly find joy in others' failures, ask yourself, why do I need this? Is it because I feel inadequate? Is it because I secretly believe life is a competition? Because the truth is, someone else's failure doesn't make us better. It just distracts us from dealing with our own insecurities. So next time you catch yourself smirking at someone's downfall, pause, reflect, and ask yourself, is this feeling making me a better person or just a more bitter one? The choice is always ours. All right, now let's zoom out a little. Schadenfreude isn't just some personal guilty pleasure. It's everywhere. It's baked into our culture, our media, our social interactions. The world practically runs on it. And once you start seeing it, you'll realize how much of our entertainment, news, and even our daily conversations revolve around watching people fall. Let's break it down. Look, humans are status obsessed. We always have been. From kings and queens to CEOs and influencers, we're fascinated by people who are above us. But here's the twist. We love watching them crash and burn just as much as we love watching them rise. Think about it. Celebrity scandals, political downfalls, billionaire bankruptcies. The media thrives on this stuff because we eat it up. Why? Because the higher someone climbs, the more satisfying their fall? There's actually a name for this, tall poppy syndrome. The idea is that when someone stands out too much, we feel this urge to cut them down. It's why people love seeing famous actors, CEOs, or athletes fail. Their mistakes make us feel like maybe they weren't so special after all. And the media? Oh, they know this game. Tabloids, gossip columns, reality TV, cancel culture. It's all built on Schadenfreude. The headlines scream, famous star caught cheating, or billionaire files for bankruptcy. And suddenly we feel this rush of excitement. It's like watching a real-life soap opera. But here's the dark side. This addiction to seeing others fall doesn't actually help us. It just distracts us from our own struggles. We might think, at least I'm not as messed up as them, but that feeling is temporary. Meanwhile, our own problems? Still there. Still waiting. Now, let's talk about something even deeper. Why we love seeing our rivals fail. Ever felt a surge of joy when the opposing sports team lost? Or when a politician you despise got roasted in an interview? That's Schadenfreude in action, and it's wired into us at a tribal level. Humans are tribal by nature. Back in the old days, it was all about our group versus their group. If the enemy tribe suffered, our tribe thrived. That instinct hasn't gone away. We just dress it up in modern clothes. Today, it shows up in sports. Watching the other team lose feels just as good as watching ours win. Politics. Every election cycle turns into a Schadenfreude fest. People don't just want their candidate to win. They want the opposition to humiliate themselves. Workplace rivalries. Ever felt a little thrill when a coworker you secretly dislike messed up a big project? That's your tribal brain treating work like a battlefield. And let's be real. The internet has made this 1,000 times worse. Social media is a war zone where people pick sides and root for the other team to fail. It's toxic, but it feels good in the moment. But here's the question. Does any of this actually make us better? Does watching the other side fail actually improve our own situation? Or is it just an illusion of victory? Because here's the truth. Wasting energy on hating the other team does nothing for your growth. It just keeps you stuck in the same cycle of comparison, resentment, and distraction. Now, let's talk about something lighter. Why is Schadenfreude so damn entertaining? Think about the stuff that goes viral. Fail videos, awkward moments, people getting pranked. We eat it up. Why? Because failure is hilarious when it's not happening to us. Comedy has always been rooted in other people's misfortunes. Slapstick humor? It's literally people falling down. Roast battles, making fun of someone's flaws for sport. Reality TV? Watching people embarrass themselves on camera. And memes? Oh man, memes are built on Schadenfreude. Every time someone does something dumb on the internet, within hours there are memes, GIFs, and TikToks making fun of it, and we love it. But here's something to think about. Why does watching other people fail make us feel better? Sometimes it's harmless fun, but sometimes it's something darker. If we're laughing because we feel superior or because we secretly enjoy their embarrassment, then maybe it's worth asking, what does that say about us? Because at the end of the day, Schadenfreude is a cheap high. It's fun in the moment, but it doesn't actually fulfill us. It's like junk food. Easy, addictive, but empty. Are we just spectators or are we growing? Look, there's nothing wrong with feeling Schadenfreude. It's human. But the question is, are we just mindlessly consuming other people's failures or are we actually learning from them? Because watching people fall won't make you rise. Laughing at someone else's mistake won't fix your own. And rooting for someone's downfall won't make your life any better. The real flex? Growing so much that you don't need to compare yourself to others anymore. So next time you feel that little jolt of pleasure when someone messes up, ask yourself, is this feeling making me better or just bitter? Am I laughing to enjoy the moment? Or am I laughing to hide my own insecurities? Would I want someone to feel this way about me? Because at the end of the day, real confidence isn't built on watching others fail. It's built on making sure you don't stop growing. All right, up to this point, we've been talking about why we feel Schadenfreude and how society thrives on it. But now, let's get real about the consequences. Because while a little bit of harmless amusement at someone's failure seems normal, when we let it run unchecked, it can turn ugly. This isn't just about laughing at some celebrity's fall from grace or feeling smug when a rival messes up. This is about what happens when we feed that part of ourselves too much, and trust me, the long-term effects aren't pretty. Here's the paradox. We love Schadenfreude, but we hate being the target of it. Think about the last time you failed at something in front of others. Maybe you messed up a presentation, bombed a test, got called out at work, or made an embarrassing mistake online. If people laughed at you, gossiped about you, or felt a little too happy about your misfortune, you know how painful that can be. So why does it feel different when we're the ones enjoying someone else's downfall? That's the ethical trap of Schadenfreude. It's fun when we're on the winning side, but the moment the tables turn, we realize just how cruel it can be. And here's the deeper question. If we don't want others to take pleasure in our failures, why do we justify doing it to them? Schadenfreude is a double-edged sword. If we allow ourselves to indulge in it too much, we slowly become the kind of people we wouldn't want to be around. The truth? The healthiest people, the ones who are truly confident, successful, and fulfilled, don't waste energy celebrating other people's failures. They're too busy building themselves up. Now let's talk about what happens when Schadenfreude becomes more than just a fleeting emotion, when it becomes a habit. Because when we start actively seeking out other people's failures, that's when things get dark. Unchecked Schadenfreude fuels some of the worst behaviors in society. Bullying. Whether in schools, workplaces, or online, people love taking down others they see as weak, different, or too successful. Online harassment. Social media has made Schadenfreude more dangerous than ever. People gang up, cancel others, and enjoy ruining reputations. Gossip culture. The reason gossip is so addictive? It lets us secretly enjoy someone else's downfall while pretending to be concerned. And here's the part no one talks about. The more we indulge in Schadenfreude, the more it poisons us. It breeds resentment. Instead of working on ourselves, we focus on tearing others down. It creates bitterness. We start to believe the world is just a competition where the only way to win is for someone else to lose. It limits our growth because instead of learning from failure, We avoid risks just to make sure we never become the target of other people's Schadenfreude. See the trap? The more we feed our enjoyment of others' failures, the more we weaken ourselves. True confidence doesn't come from seeing others fail. It comes from knowing you don't need to. Now let's go beyond the personal level and look at the bigger picture. How Schadenfreude is shaping our world. Ever noticed how politics, social media, and even everyday life have become more divided than ever? A big part of that is because Schadenfreude is fueling the fire. Here's how. Political polarization. People don't just want their side to win, they want the other side to fail spectacularly. Elections aren't about ideas anymore, they're about humiliating the opposition. And guess what? The more we celebrate the failures of our enemies, the more divided we become. Cancel culture. It started as a way to hold people accountable, but now it's often just collective Schadenfreude, people enjoying tearing others down, sometimes without even knowing the full story. Lack of empathy in society. The more we enjoy others' suffering, the less compassion we have. And when that happens, society starts to rot from the inside. And here's the scary part. If we normalize Schadenfreude, we create a world where no one is safe from it. One day, someone else is the target. The next day, it could be us. So here's the real question. Do we let Schadenfreude control us, or do we rise above it? Because at the end of the day, being happy at someone else's failure doesn't make you more successful. It just makes you more distracted. And here's something powerful. The next time you catch yourself feeling Schadenfreude, pause. Ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Is this actually making my life better? Would I want someone feeling this way about me? The truth? Real winners don't need others to lose. So be the kind of person who doesn't need to take others down to feel good. Be the kind of person who doesn't waste energy hoping for others to fail. Because at the end of the day, the people who rise the highest, they're too busy building to ever waste time watching others fall. Alright, so we've dug deep into Schadenfreude, why we feel it, how society encourages it, and the damage it can do if we let it take over. Now comes the real question. Can we actually rise above it? The answer? Yes, but it takes work. Because here's the thing. Schadenfreude isn't just a feeling. It's a mirror. It reflects something deeper about us. Our insecurities, our fears, our unmet desires. So if we want to overcome it, we have to be willing to look at ourselves first. Let's talk about how. First, we have to get brutally honest with ourselves. Why do we actually feel Schadenfreude? What does it reveal about us? Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, talked about something called the shadow. It's the part of ourselves we like to ignore. The envy, the insecurity, the resentment. And guess what? Schadenfreude lives in the shadow. When we feel happy about someone else's failure, it's often because it touches something raw inside us. Maybe we envy their success. Maybe their downfall makes us feel less inadequate. Maybe we've been burned before and seeing them fail feels like justice. But here's the hard truth. Schadenfreude never fixes what's broken inside us. If anything, it reveals what we need to work on. So the next time you catch yourself feeling it, don't just push it away. Ask yourself, what does this feeling say about me? Is there something I secretly want but haven't admitted to myself? Am I using their failure to avoid dealing with my own struggles? Because once you recognize where it's coming from, you take away its power. Now let's talk about shifting our mindset. Because if Schadenfreude is a lack of empathy, then the cure is learning to see people differently. A simple but powerful trick? Flip the script. Instead of indulging in someone's failure, imagine you're them. Imagine what it feels like to be at the center of a scandal, to lose everything, to be laughed at. Think about your worst failure. Would you want others to enjoy it? The moment you stop seeing people as distant, untouchable figures and start seeing them as humans with real emotions, Schadenfreude loses its grip. And here's something even more powerful. What if we saw failures as learning moments instead of entertainment? Instead of thinking, haha, they messed up, what if we thought, what can I learn from this? Because the truth is, everyone fails. And the people who grow are the ones who learn from failure, not the ones who sit back and laugh at it. Now let's talk about the biggest mindset shift, the one that frees you from ever needing Schadenfreude again. Success isn't a zero-sum game. Someone else winning does not mean you're losing. Their success doesn't take away from yours, just like their failure doesn't make you better. But we live in a world that tricks us into believing it does. We're taught to compare, to measure, to compete. And when we feel like we're behind, the easiest way to feel better is to pull others down instead of lifting ourselves up. But let me tell you something. Real winners don't think like that. Confident people don't need others to fail to feel good about themselves. Successful people focus on their own growth, not someone else's downfall. Truly happy people don't waste energy hoping others lose. They use that energy to build their own lives. So here's the shift. If you feel envious of someone's success, use that as fuel instead of resentment. If you feel tempted to celebrate someone's failure, ask yourself, how does this actually help me? If you ever think, I'll never be as good as them, remember, your journey is yours. Their journey is theirs. Stay in your lane. Because the truth is, the only way to win in life isn't by tearing others down. It's by making sure you keep rising. All right, let's bring this home. By now, we've unpacked why we feel Schadenfreude, how society feeds it, the damage it can do, and how we can rise above it. And here's the final truth. Schadenfreude is natural, but if we let it run wild, it can poison us. It starts as a little thrill when someone stumbles, but if we feed it, if we make a habit of rooting for others to fail, it slowly eats away at us. It breeds resentment. It keeps us small. It makes us bitter instead of better. And the worst part, it tricks us into thinking we're winning, when in reality, we're just standing still. Too busy watching others fall to focus on our own climb. So here's the challenge. Next time you feel that little jolt of Schadenfreude, stop. Just for a second. Ask yourself, what does this say about me? Is this about them, or is it revealing something I need to work on? What if this was me? How would I want people to react? Does celebrating their failure actually improve my life in any way? Because once you start questioning it, you take back control. You stop being a spectator in other people's downfalls and start becoming the main character in your own success. At the end of the day, true success isn't built on others' failures. The happiest, most successful people, they don't waste time hoping others lose. They're too focused on winning their own game. And here's the best part. When you shift your mindset, you stop seeing life as a competition where only one person can rise. You realize there's room for everyone to succeed, that helping others doesn't take away from you. That confidence comes from growth, not comparison. So choose that path. The path of builders, not spectators. The path of people who aren't afraid to clap when others win, because they know their own time is coming. And that's the mindset that sets you free. Now go out there, focus on your journey, and keep climbing.